Welcome to the Howell Township Council regular meeting for Tuesday, September 10th, 2019. Can I have the opening statement and roll call, please?
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this regular meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on August 29, 2019. By the copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press, Tri-Town News, and Star Ledger for information and publication on August 29, 2019. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on August 29, 2019. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127, NJAC 17:27. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with emergency exits for your safety. Upon exiting the meeting room, they are to your left and to the right. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Present.
Ms. Richmond?
Present.
Mr. Russo?
Here.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Here.
Mayor Berger?
Is running a little late, and she'll be joining us shortly. Okay, we'll be moving on to the public hearing, which is the Monmouth County Municipal Open Space Grant. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. Tonight we have Kelsey Howard from Mazer Consulting. Kelsey is an associate and is the Grants and Funding Services Coordinator from Mazer. She will be handling the presentation for us tonight. She actually most recently helped us last year obtain the grant for the Soldier Memorial multi-use building. So she's at it again this year, handling all of the outside paperwork needed for this grant application. So Kelsey has a short presentation tonight. We're going to go through that. At the end of the presentation, we'll open it up to the council. Once the council is complete, we'll open it up to the public, and then we'll finish up with any final comments. Okay?
Thank you.
So without further regard, Kelsey, take it away.
Thank you. Good evening. So my name is Kelsey Howard. We're here to do the public hearing on your 2019 Monmouth County Municipal Open Space Grant. The project is the Capital to the Coast Trail Extension. What did I do wrong?
Just to the right.
There we go. Okay. So as was stated previously, the hearing was properly noticed. The grant program requires 10 days prior to the meeting a notice to be placed in a newspaper, an official newspaper of the township. So that was placed on August 30th. And so we're just here to present the project and the application and allow for comment from the public. In terms of the program itself, it will fund up to 50% of the eligible construction costs, up to $250,000. This program provides grants for the development or acquisition of properties for open space and recreation use. And there is an emphasis on new recreational facilities, which your project qualifies for. The deadline is September 19th that we're preparing for. In terms of the project need, you're probably all familiar with the Capital to the Coast Trail, which has some completed segments, some missing segments, but will eventually extend, be a regional trail extending from the capital, Trenton, to the coast in Manasquan. So this project will complete some missing segments that will connect Soldier Memorial Park to Oak Glen Park. And in addition to completing the missing segments of the trail, it will increase pedestrian safety since the practice football fields on Maxim Road near Soldier Memorial Park are used for overflow parking during Howell Day. So in any other events where Soldier Memorial Park requires some overflow parking, pedestrians will be able to walk within this trail, off-road trail, as opposed to within the right-of-way on Maxim Road. This is the location map for the project. So you'll see the orange segments starting from Soldier Memorial Park to Bear Swamp Pond, and then the other second segment going from the existing trail through Bear Swamp Natural Area, where it leaves, is left off at Preventorium Road. That segment extends along Preventorium Road to Oak Glen Park and meets the existing trail behind the existing baseball field. So here's another closer location map on the first segment. So the project starts at the intersection of Lakewood Farmingdale Road at the entrance of Soldier Memorial Park. It will extend, the township has an existing easement, so it'll go along that private property, off-road, and then when it hits the township property, it will cut in behind that tree line and then extend to the existing paved trail that's by Bear Swamp Pond. And this is just walking you through the first segment of the trail along that private property, and then the township property, and then the connection to the existing trail in the Bear Swamp Natural Area. And I've already gone through this, the area of the second segment, so here's that location map. What's going to happen here is the first part of the trail where it leaves off at the unimproved trail on Preventorium Road. It will be an off-road trail on that east side of the road. It'll cross the brook. You're likely going to be required to put a bridge to cross the stream. And then there's going to be a mid-block crosswalk with rapid reflective flashing beacons, advance warning signage for pedestrian safety and bicycle safety for the trail users to cross Preventorium Road. And then on the west side of the road, it'll be more in the shoulder with striping, trail markings on the pavement, and signage. And then once it will get up to Oak Glen Park, it'll be off-road, likely paved trail along the fence line. And again, these are just some photos of the existing conditions and where this segment of the trail will be. This is the area of the stream, likely where the stream crossing and the mid-block crosswalk will be. And this is the connection to Oak Glen Park. Most of this I covered already. The trail will be mostly off-road, either paved or quarry dust. And we'll have where the intersection of Maxim Road and Lakewood Farmingdale Road is, we'll have, full ADA compliance, sidewalk, curb, and plenty of trail signage. In terms of our project schedule, if you're selected for a grant, the county usually passes a resolution at their meeting in December, and then you'll receive an award notice in January or February. From there, you'll be required to do a preliminary assessment and site inspection. Design and permitting could take 6 to 9 months, and construction could take 6 months, and we think you'll be able to complete the project and close it out by March 2022, which is within the county's deadline of completing the project within 30 months of the grant notification. The project construction is anticipated to cost about $500,000, and then we would be requesting a grant, the maximum grant of $250,000, which is 50% of the project cost. So that's all I have. I can take any questions if you have them. Did you want to add anything, Jim?
No, that was a perfect little presentation there. Council, Mayor, Deputy Mayor, Council, if you have questions or clarifications you would need, now's the time to ask.
Council members, any specific questions you'd like to ask Kelsey?
What percent of this trail will be paved? You said it's a mixture of. Do you have a percent?
I don't think that's been determined yet.
No.
I guess
It's going to vary. we're probably going to pave along Maxim Road. We want to pave the high-traffic areas that would have a tendency to be a maintenance headache or something like that. So we'll pave along from the crosswalk along Maxim. We'll tuck into the township property. Whether or not we pave that will depend on the overall plans over there, the usage of that, where exactly people walk. We do have Howell Day coming up in 2 weeks. So I've requested, unfortunately I have a wedding that day I can't attend, but I've requested some staff members to go and take a bunch of photos just to document it. I wish I had them from last year. It's one of those things you just never think about, because we actually have to close down one of the lanes of Maxim Road and have people walk in the street in order to get there. It would be much easier if we could leave the road open, have a separated trail that the public could walk through, and then we wouldn't have to worry about additional traffic control, closing the street, things of that nature. We will definitely pave it along that first stretch there. And then, like I said, it'll vary. After the township property on Maxim, I don't think there's really a potentially need to pave all of it there. We could probably do some quarry dust. And then there's some drainage issues we have to work through, so we're going to work through those. I don't want to put quarry dust in an area that's going to flood and potentially wash away. Finally, when we get to Preventorium Road, it'll be a combination of paved and quarry dust. There are sections that are currently unimproved. We'll probably continue with unimproved, or we'll improve it to quarry dust along Preventorium. The crossing will definitely be paved. It's actually the road, so we'll make sure there's landings that are ADA compliant on both sides. And then once we get to Oakland Park, I'll probably pave the first stretch off of the road, just so it's clean, maintained well. And then once I get up away from the curb line, away from the road, we'll probably change it to quarry dust again, because that's what the rest of the trail, where it will meet. Kelsey, could you go back to the zoomed in trail map for the second segment, please?
Yes.
Okay, so on the top of the screen, you see the teal-colored existing township-owned trail. That was a result of a DOT grant that was obtained probably 7, 8, 9 years ago, somewhere thereabouts. So the trail there already exists, and that trail was meant to be a connection to the county reservoir system. So the trail that goes around the reservoir has a crossing on Old Tavern Road, and then it comes in through here, and that's where it ends right now. So we're going to pick it up from there as quarry dust and run it out to Preventorium. We went back and forth on the Preventorium crossing because we have to go over 195. We had talked about paving the trail behind the curb and providing the trail that way. However, when we thought about the cost, when we thought about the stormwater requirements we would need to include, we felt that the shoulders are so wide there as you go up over the bridge, there's probably a way to save some money and just put pavement markings and signage along that shoulder and still have a safe route to get up and over Interstate 195. Once we get to the other side, we'll have a crosswalk. It's the biggest or longest stretch of clear sight lines from either direction, so that's why we picked that location to cross. And then we'll tuck back in and meet the existing unimproved trail that goes through Bear Swamp.
Do you foresee this going over the 501,000?
I don't believe so.
I'm
I
saying
believe,
you
based
took-
on our measures we're thinking about with Preventorium Road, I don't believe it will.
And then I guess finally, I guess we have to match whatever it is, the 250. Which account? Would this be open space funds? What kind of funds would this be?
Yes, so this could be utilized out of the Open Space Trust, so it would be no separate bonding that we would need to do for this. And keep in mind, this is a one-to-one match, so, we're estimating 500,000. If the project comes in at 480, then we don't, we still can't use all 250 from the county. That gets reduced proportionately too. So, from a cost-benefit factor, it makes sense to spend the most amount to get it to the max of 500. You don't want to be at $1 million unless you plan to be at $1 million. And if we're gonna hopefully get the full 250, you don't want the project to come in at 300,000 because then you're only gonna get 100,000. They're gonna back off 100,000 off of that contract, and then we pay the rest. So, you know, that's the general synopsis of the funding.
Done?
Yeah. I know where I want the money.
Councilwoman Richmond, any
She has.
questions?
No, those are very good questions, Mr. Bonovich. No.
Councilman
Just a comment,
Russo?
looking forward to it. This is a
Yeah, it's
great
great.
project, so thank you for your work.
Thank you for doing that.
All right, Kelsey, if you don't mind taking a seat at the table here. And Deputy Mayor, would you like to open it up for public comment, please?
I certainly will. First on the list is Kathy Novick. Good evening, Kathy. Address, please.
Evening. Good evening, Council, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton Drive.
You have a question or a comment for Kelsey?
Yes, I have questions. Not some, I think it's probably more for Jim
Okay,
Herman.
sure.
Now, you worked with this plan with who?
Pardon?
Who did you work this out with, this plan? It said, you used "we" a lot, so I was just wondering if you had to
I
look-
use we because I don't like using I.
Oh.
When you use I, you sound a little self-centered.
I thought maybe it was Capital Coast people.
Well,
or-
we've definitely had discussions. We've had discussions with Monmouth County already. We've had multiple meetings with the county about this. So this is not something that is not on their radar already. They are very aware of it.
I have just a couple questions. The entrance to Soldier Memorial is where we start, Howell. So where is everyone coming from to get to the entrance of Soldier Memorial?
Right now, nowhere. So just like it ends today in Oakland Park, now it'll just extend further and end in Soldier Memorial Park. The long-term plan and idea would be to continue through Soldier Memorial Park, through a piece of property that was obtained from the Blewett family a few years ago, just for this purpose, and to get it to Allaire State Park. Allaire State Park has held multiple meetings that I've attended in discussing extending it because the trail, what they call the Capital to the Coast Trail now, ends currently on Hospital Road in Howell Township. Howell Township has spent a lot of grant funding and their own funding over the years extending the trail from Manasquan through Howell Township. It's a very nice trail. If any of you have ever been on it, I'm sure you probably have. So that is the long-term plan. Now, whether or not that long-term plan is 5 years or 50 years, I don't know. But the theory would be it's an extension of what the trail is now. If you wanted to park at Soldier Memorial, you could park there, avoid the parking lots of Monmouth County's reservoir, and you could ride your bike or walk or whatever you want from there all the way through and around the reservoir and back.
Okay, so Soldier Memorial gets really busy with the sports activities, and I see parking all over, so that would accommodate the bicyclists also.
Well, we're not extending the trail through Soldier Memorial right now.
Oh.
So there would be a potential, we have to think that out, because there are a few quarry dust trails that go through Soldier Memorial right now. If you've ever been there during a tournament, you realize that most of the parents set up their tents and, everything right on those trails. So to have bike or pedestrian or horses or whoever go in that region, that probably wouldn't be a good idea. So eventually, I think we would probably put a trail around the ring of Soldier Memorial somewhere. But that's really to be determined based on what we decide to go through on the Blewett property. That trail, that section is more important, and we have county engineering and Allaire State Park involved to determine the best way to cross Herbertsville Road, because Herbertsville Road is not very pedestrian friendly. So we're working that out with them now.
Okay, so from Soldier Memorial, you're going to have a paved path to the entrance of Maxim, to Bear Swamp Pond from Maxim.
The dam.
Now, I'm wondering, I couldn't tell by the photos, is that paved trail going to go around the parking, the horse trailer parking and the sports parking now, or is it going through it, or?
It goes around it. Kelsey's going to bring up the map right now. So
So where the fence is where the sports, the Papa Warner families park. and the horse trailer parking is there also, in the same...
Right, so right along those trees right there, will probably be in that region somewhere, along the tree line.
So it's really going to go on to the paved path that's already there? Or are you going to make another paved path? To the-
Which paved path?
The paved path, the bridge overlay that you made?
Yes, we're going to meet the bridge overlay.
At
you
the-
see it-
At
you-
Maxim Road,
You see it?
near Maxim Road?
Where you see that note that says meet existing paved trail, where the pink dash trail starts, I don't know if you can see it, maybe?
I'm sorry, I can't see that
Oh,
far.
all right.
So that's,
Yes, so we're going to meet there. Now, whether or not we meet that with paved or quarry dust is to be determined once we have a survey and we know the drainage conditions.
okay.
That's where the existing
So is it before the bridge or after the bridge?
Before the bridge.
Yeah, like
There's no need to, because we already did the bridge.
closer to the road, closer to
Correct.
Maxim?
Correct.
Right, okay. So the pavement goes up to the trail, to the beginning of the fields of Bear Swamp natural area, where you would go into, I assume the bikers are going to go in that way, to the blue trail, that's the existing unimproved trail, is that?
Right.
Right? Okay, so they're going into the existing unimproved trails. And I'm really concerned about if those trails in the future are going to be paved.
There's no plan to pave those.
Because, as you know, it's a swamp. And I've walked those trails many times, and, pavement would not be good back there.
Well, it depends. Depends on the area. So much of the trail in Howell Township is paved, depending on where you're at. Okay, and what they typically do, there's special DEP permits that allow you to build a trail and put pipes underneath any drainage conveyances where there's an ebb and flow of water. Then you could put a couple pipes under and bridge up over that under this general permit. Now, that's not part of this scope or this project, and is a conversation for another day. We're just talking about this piece right here, right now. But Bear Swamp, that's not even thought about yet. We're just trying to make the connections to get as much trail done as we can right now.
Okay, so, but in the future, it's a possibility that those trails back there could be paved.
Like I said, that's probably a conversation for another day. We haven't got that far yet.
Well, I want to have it now, because I might not be here another day.
Well, that's not part of this grant application, so it's not a
Yeah,
conversation for right now.
I just want to say that if you do plan on paving, it should be pervious pavement.
Okay.
And has the police department or Howell Township PD been consulted about this, the traffic pattern of this trail?
Yes, they
The
have.
safety of it?
Yes, they have.
And you have the seal of approval from the Howell Police Department?
Correct.
Okay. And
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor, it's been more than 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
I think I'm almost done, so,
Sorry, just remember, we have executive session at 6:30, so we're really strapped for time, okay?
I'll try to be mindful.
Thank you.
Capital to Coast Trail Extension, 10 days. I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kathy. Next, we have Lisa Dowd. Good evening.
Hi, I'm Lisa.
Hello.
I just have a couple questions. I've actually ridden this trail.
Name and address for the record?
93 Merrick Road, Farmingdale.
Thank you.
So I've ridden the trail crossing over from the reservoir to the baseball fields. And are you doing any improvements to that? Because there's no way that people can actually ride on that trail.
So there's a section that's county-owned and a section that's township-owned.
Okay.
I think I know where the line is, right? You
The
know,
line is where the pavement ends, I'm guessing.
There's no pavement over there. It's actually
There's part
quarry
of it's-
dust.
Yeah, part of it's quarry dust, but then.
So it's
dirt is
basically
dirt.
it's a maintenance issue that we have to make sure that DPW addresses, maintaining the existing trail section that goes from the back of the baseball fields to where those wooden bollards are in the trail. That's the line. And it's very discernible when you're out there. So we need some maintenance work out there.
And then I believe that there's also hunting allowed back there. There's signs that say, like, no hunting on one side of the trail. So-
That I'm not aware of. Depends on whose property it is.
Well,
It's
I'm
not
just saying,
really-
I
we
mean,
don't really
it's a
issue
safety
any punt-
concern when hunting season because people are going to be riding down that trail and people are going to be hunting on one side of that trail.
Well, they also hunt in the county parks.
I know, I
and
ride in
think
the
it's
county park, so.
Right,
yeah.
so I think it's the same, that's all.
Depends on how much
That
traffic you're gonna
property,
have.
that property is actually county property,
Okay.
yeah.
So, I mean, it's just if there's gonna be families back there with kids, I mean, I ride in a lair in the
Right.
county park. There's not a lot of children back there, but my concern would be if you're gonna have hunting and you're gonna have families back there with children, that would be a concern.
Well, we don't have any hunting that we allow on our property.
Well, I understand that, but it's right alongside
However, the
where the
county
trail
does
goes.
permit bow hunting, I believe, at this point in time.
On their
correct?
property, and
Right.
those bollards that I mentioned, where the
Yes.
trail becomes discernible from county to township, that's the county property line. So I can't control what they do on
Yeah, that
on
was my
their-
point. What the
yeah,
county
on
permits
their
and what we
phase.
permit are two different things.
Right,
The other, so I've ridden the other sections of this trail, they're all paved.
okay. We're not planning to
Yeah, I
pave.
know, I understand that,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, so it's obviously not gonna match up with the other sections of the trail, because I've ridden all the sections in Wall, and all of those sections are paved.
Right, but neither does the reservoir.
No,
So we're
I
not,
understand the reservoir is not paved.
that's our
but it's-
justification to say we're not gonna pave the whole thing, because I don't think we need to.
Okay. Because I mean, I know a lot of people who ride, and a lot of people, unless they have a certain type of bike, are not gonna utilize that trail, because it's not paved.
Well,
So-
I can't make everybody happy. If I make
I
you happy,
understand that.
Kathy will be back up here
I'm just
asking me to
saying.
rip the pavement out because I paved it. So, I'm
know.
stuck either way.
We're trying, Mrs. Dowd, we're trying.
I'm trying to get the link there. If we get the link there, people will hopefully show up.
Any other comments or questions?
I think those are my only comments.
Thank you very much. And lastly, we have Joan Osborne. Good evening, Joan.
Joan Osborne, 28 Bronia Street. I just had a couple of comments. I'm happy that any section, the more the better, of the Capitol to Coast Trail are getting done. Hopefully, eventually it will be completed. I know there are challenges. Is it correct that no part of this trail right now is going through the natural sections of Bear Swamp Park? Or natural area?
Define natural. The Howell football fields are technically in the natural area. Soldier Memorial is technically in the natural area.
Right, so it's stopping right at the entrance to Soldier Memorial? Is that correct?
Well, it's the crossing of Route 547. We're going to make an ADA compliant ramp on the Soldier Memorial side, and then it'll extend on the other side.
Okay, so it's not creating any new trails within the football field, or the soccer fields, the lacrosse fields?
Not at this time, not under this phase.
Okay. Is there any analysis of what it's going to take? Well, is Howell going to be responsible to maintain it once it becomes part of the Capitol Coast Trail?
Yes,
Has there been any analysis of what the annual cost of maintaining?
not a hard monetary analysis, no. This is going to be an asset like any other that we are going to have to just add to the maintenance list.
Okay. You indicated you had meetings with the county, and did they have any input into where the trail's going?
Yes,
Okay, and are they looking at, where the next connection's gonna be?
yes.
That's gonna have to go through the natural area of Bear Swamp Park?
Well, the trail's already there, right? It's recycled aggregate and a combination of old DGA and gravel and everything else. So the trail's there, and it's over 10 feet wide right now. And it's accessible. You can, not that we allow it, but you can drive a truck all the way through.
Right, and that's one of the questions I had, because my understanding is right now, even though it's not legal, there are people with ATVs going in there, people on dirt bikes going into the
That's correct.
natural area.
Illegally trespassing on our property, yes.
Right, and, right now, it's also my understanding that it's not being, the rules aren't really being enforced as to trying to keep those out. And is this going to be a similar situation with this trail? Is it going to be?
Well, these are two very small segments of that whole trail. I doubt this trail is going to be utilized by ATV riders because it's very publicly exposed, the pieces we're building this time. It's not through the woods. It's right on Maxim Road on 547. So I don't believe there's going to be an issue with ATVs on this section of the trail.
Okay, so it's not going to increase the potential and the damage that's being done in the natural area by these vehicles, more won't be coming in because of this?
Well, when we built the dam, we attempted to limit any of the ATV use by providing a gate and smaller openings over the dam right now. And then as we finished building the dam, we saw that the ATV riders drove through the stream to get to the other side.
Oh, my.
So, you know, it's one of these things, I can't put a fence around the entire Bear Swamp natural area. You know, there's many residences that back up to it. Some of them might be the people that are riding on it. So, you know, it's an enforcement issue like every other.
And my other comment is, were there any meetings with anyone on the Lake Restoration and Wildlife Committee about this potential plan?
No, there were not.
Okay. I just have a general comment about process. It's one that comes up every year when these applications come in, is that just having only enough time to see it at the meeting and to generate comments and not to really have a chance to study it. The Environmental Commission hasn't seen it, the Lake Restoration hasn't seen it. I don't know if you saw it before today, but it would be nice if we did this maybe in June and had some time to study and have input before we put the final application in 10 days. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Joan.
Thank you.
Jim, is there a special policy, procedure, ordinance, anything that states that you have to inform the Lake Restoration or
No,
the
there's
County
not.
Commission? And to be fair, I did sit with Jim last week for about an hour, and we did go over this, so I had seen it prior to today.
Are there any other public comments or questions at this time? Someone, please come up. Hello, name and address, please.
Elaine Taylor,
Hi, Elaine.
Southern Road, Howell. You know, myself and many other equestrians are concerned about the use and making sure that it is, you know, multi-use, you know, and that the horses that do ride on the trails will be safe, you know, and just want to state that, you know, there are a lot of small farms and a lot of horse farms in Howell which keep our community very rural. So I think it's really important that we respect them and give them their space for riding that is safe and more for them. And I realize that, you know, we're up against it with the county and everyone else, but I think it's really important that we keep that space for them, for the equestrian people. And that's all. Thank you.
Your position is well stated, Elaine. Thank you. I do have a quick question, Kelsey. Now that the county will be involved in not only the process, but in the actual final result, will there be any enforcement that we can anticipate on the county level to help limit the ATVs from going through the streams and whatnot? Does that bring in any park rangers or anything?
Not in terms of the grant, but maybe that can be discussed separately with the county.
Okay.
The grant is real, the grant agreement will just say,
I
we're giving you
understand.
the money for this, do this project.
Well, I will be bringing it up later. Okay. Are there any other comments from the council people?
Not at this time.
Okay, I think then I'd like to thank you very much for your presentation, Kelsey. It was very nice. I appreciate you taking the time for the questions and for the diagrams. It was very helpful.
Thank you for the opportunity.
My pleasure. Jim, was there anything that you needed to add before we close this portion?
Nope, that's it, and I think we're ready for executive.
Thank you very much. Okay. Do we, excuse me, do we have any matters that we need to go into executive session?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, we have items to discuss under attorney-client privilege, personnel, contract negotiations, and litigation.
Thank you. Allison, would you please read the executive session statement, please?
Resolution authorizing executive session. Whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell is authorized pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 to exclude the public from that portion of this meeting for purposes of discussing specific matters as permitted by NJSA 10:4-12, and whereas the governing body of the Township of Howell intends to discuss certain matters which are deemed confidential pursuant to NJSA 10:4-12 in executive session. Whereas at this time, the governing body of the Township of Howell cannot determine the time when the discussion to be held in executive session will be made public, but will disclose the minutes of the executive session when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Now therefore be it resolved by the governing body of the Township of Howell that this meeting shall be adjourned to an executive session and the public will be excluded in order that the governing body of the Township of Howell may discuss the items previously listed, and upon reconvening this public meeting, the presiding officer will announce, if possible, the time when and the circumstances under which the discussion conducted in executive session will be disclosed to the public.
Thank you. May I get a motion to go into executive session, please?
I'll make a motion to go into executive session.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. We are now in executive session. Thank you. I'd like to call the meeting back in order. The executive session minutes from tonight's session can be disclosed to the public when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. I'd like you to remember 9/11 tomorrow. I'd like you to recall it this evening while we're all together. And I will also invite you to our ceremony tomorrow at 6 o'clock on the at the old Pre-Victorian building. Amen. Thank you. The August 13th, 2019 regular minutes and August 27th, 2019 special meeting. Can I get a motion to accept the minutes as they stand?
You want to go? Go ahead.
Excuse me, Deputy Mayor. There
yes.
was a resident requested some corrections. Clerk Woolman had emailed out.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Parisi.
Yes.
That's correct. Allison, could you read that statement from Mr. Parisi into the record, please? You have it?
I have it.
Would you please read it into the
Sure.
records?
The revised statement would be Mark Parisi, 2 Castle Court. Mr. Parisi questioned the progress of enforcing the noise ordinance. Last information provided was that Township Attorney Clark spoke to the County Health Department, and they had not come to any shared service agreement. Mr. Parisi had suggested to Mr. Clark that Howell Township delegate a code enforcement officer to get trained and certified to enforce the noise ordinance in-house. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell asked Mr. Herman for an update. Deputy Township Manager Herman responded that there is no update on this matter. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell suggested that Mr. Parisi contact Township Attorney Clark upon Mr. Clark's return from vacation. Deputy Mayor O'Donnell asked Deputy Township Manager Herman to take the necessary steps to finalize the issue, come forward with the information that is viable to the public in keeping our ordinances current. Mr. Herman acknowledged. That would be the update to his comments.
Thank you. Were there any corrections from the council or any additions?
No.
Okay, may I have a motion for the two different meetings?
Motion to move the amended minutes of 9/13, 2019.
The original.
And the original?
And the original from 9.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Did you incorporate the August 27th in that as well, Mr. Bonovich?
No, I will not. That's include August 2000. Motion to move the minutes from August 27th, 2019 as well.
Thank you. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Before we go further, there is a proclamation this evening for Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month for September. Councilwoman Richmond, would you like to read it?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Office of the Mayor Proclamation, Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, September 2019. Whereas September has been designated as National Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month, and whereas Turns the Town Teal is a campaign to create awareness of ovarian cancer and its symptoms. Volunteers tie ribbons throughout the town centers and hand out symptom cards. And whereas ovarian cancer is often referred to as the silent disease, as its symptoms are often vague and subtle. There is no early detection test for ovarian cancer, which means it is critical that women become aware of the known symptoms. And whereas 1 in 67 women will develop ovarian cancer in their lifetime. 2/3 of those diagnosed will die from this disease. And whereas, if detected in the early stages, the survival rate for ovarian cancer is 90 to 95%. And whereas, increased public awareness of this disease, its factors, and its subtle symptoms may save lives as women across New Jersey and their doctors learn to recognize the warning signs of ovarian cancer, which are often the only early indication of illness. And whereas more ovarian cancer research can help to develop reliable diagnostics, better therapies, and prevention strategies, thereby offering women in New Jersey the opportunity to win their battle for life against this most deadly of all gynecological cancers. Now, therefore, I, along with Teresa Berger, Mayor of Township of Howell, do hereby proclaim September 2019 as Ovarian Cancer Awareness Month in Howell Township, and we support the Turn the Town's Teal awareness campaign.
Thank you. And let's hope that this proclamation reaches the ears of a woman that may have forgotten to have some kind of a test or visit her doctor, and she does so, and that, in fact, maybe we will save her life as well.
Amen.
Report of the township officials. Mr. Manager, do you have anything?
Yes, Deputy Mayor, just a couple quick items. You'll note in tonight's agenda, there's a few resolutions related to our audit for 2018. The auditors returned our review with no comments, which is a good indicator that our finance department is running very efficiently and has good controls in place. We just received notice today of the updated best practices questionnaire that CFO and myself will begin working on. That's due the end of October, and that will determine our state aid for 2020. Then finally, there's a few items that are being pulled from the agenda. They're related to some of our COA issues. There's two resolutions, Resolution 318 and 319, and 4 ordinances. They're ordinances 19-42, 19-43, 19-44, and 19-45. The reason they're being pulled from the agenda, our COA attorney, Andy Bayer, had received some comments from the special court master on some changes that he was asking for as recently as late this afternoon. And the council had directed me in the past about making no changes to the agenda. So in discussing it with Andy, we felt it was in everyone's best interest to pull those items all together. That way, the revised ordinances could be properly written and submitted to the council for review with sufficient time to review it and ask any questions. I don't believe there's any significant changes, but regardless, we want to make sure the ordinances were correct nonetheless. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Herman?
Nothing this evening.
And have we lost Mr. Clark? Okay,
Deputy Mayor, I have the clerk report to read into the record.
thank you. Go ahead.
The following items were added onto the agenda. Resolution R-19-315, 9A-38, authorized execution of easement and right-of-way and temporary construction easement between New Jersey American Water Company and Township of Howell, Newton's Corner Road. Resolution R-19-316, item 9A-39, authorize approval of affordable housing affirmative marketing plan. Resolution R-19-317, item 9A-40, authorize endorsement of housing element and fair share plan. Removed from the agenda was a presentation. It was to be by the Howell Environmental Commission and Municipal Green Team with Mary Ann Cernak. It has been postponed to a future meeting. Thank you.
Yes, and just in addition to that, At this point in time, it looks like it'll be an October meeting, but that information will come, as we get closer to it, we'll have a better understanding of the date. Just one other thing I'd like to say. I'd like to tell you that I was very happy to marry Dennis and Elizabeth Sullivan a couple of weeks ago at the Howell Reservoir, so I'd like to congratulate them. And secondly, at our senior center, we have a gentleman, Anthony, and his wife, Valerie, and both of these senior citizens have now gotten their U.S. citizenship. So I'd written them a letter congratulating them, and it was very nice to see two people actually going out of their way to become a citizen of the United States. So again, our heartiest congratulations to them both. This evening, we have a rather ambitious agenda. However, again, I'd like to remind everyone that we have a 5-minute rule for public speaking. At the end of 4 minutes, I've asked Allison to let the speaker know that they have another minute to wrap up their commentary. This is being done in an effort so that all of the public has an opportunity to speak. So I appreciate your time and understanding in this matter. So thank you in advance. So now we will move on to, on the agenda we had discussion for the council meeting schedule to become a workshop meeting and then a regular working meeting. As a result of the mayor not being here this evening, if the rest of the council would not mind, I'd like to push this off until Mayor Berger can be here so that her input could also be utilized. Is that all right with everyone?
That's fine with me.
Okay, great. Penny, would you make that notation?
That's Allison.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Ma'am?
Allison. I apologize.
She was just
Deputy Mayor, I
checking.
just wanted to point out that there was a presentation for CDBG that was skipped over.
I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to skip. I just wanted to get the other little stuff out of the way. Kathy Novick will be doing a presentation on the Monmouth County Community Development Block Grant Program. Kathy? And welcome this evening, and thank you for taking the time to give us this presentation tonight.
Good evening again, Deputy Mayor and Council. I'll try to keep this brief.
I didn't actually mean that for you, but if you're brief, we would appreciate that as well. But I do appreciate the information you bring forward because it's very important.
Okay, so on behalf of the Community Development Block Grant Citizens Participation Committee, Donald D. Bello, Matthew Howard, Claire Petrozella, Elaine Taylor, and myself as chair, I am here to present the fiscal year 2020 Community Development Block Grant application referred to as Scenic Drive and Long Road Paving. On September 5th, 2019, the Citizens Participation Committee met with Justin Yost, who's Deputy Mayor of Community Development, Tom Savino, Engineering Coordinator, and Jim Herman, Director of Community Development from the Engineering Department to discuss several potential projects for the fiscal year 2020 application. After much discussion, the committee determined that resurfacing the entire length of Scenic Drive from Highway Route 9 to Strickland Road, along with the entire length of the Long Road and Briar Cliff Court, total length approximately 4,480 feet, with a cul-de-sac, would best qualify for funding and therefore would be pursued under the fiscal year 2020 funding request. Based on the estimate for this project, the maximum grant amount of $200,000 will be requested. The engineering department anticipates preparing the engineering plans and specifications utilizing in-house staff. If the council agrees with our presentation, the CDBG grant rules require a quick straw poll vote of the council members to approve or deny the application. No formal resolution is required, and the meeting will be open to the public for comment. So if you have any questions of myself or Jim Herman, who runs the Department of Community Development, regarding this grant application.
Any council members like to ask any questions concerning this particular grant?
No, just want to thank you for your efforts, Kathy.
Thank you.
And thank you, Jim, for all your work on this.
Mr. Herman, is there anything that you'd like to add?
Not at this time. Keep it quick.
Jim's got a hot date, right?
Okay, so Deputy Mayor, I would ask you now to open it up to the public for questions.
Very nice. I'll now open this up to the public. Any questions on this particular item that Kathy has brought to our attention? Anyone? Seeing no questions from the public. Again, council members, anything you'd like to share or ask?
No, thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so
Thank you.
then the straw poll can be taken down. The clerk would ask for the straw poll.
Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Allison?
Okay. Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Absolutely.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes, and again, thank you.
Thank you very much, council.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
And Jim Herman and his department.
No, thank you for coming and presenting. See, it's tough to find volunteers to do this stuff, right?
All right, now we'll be moving into the hearing of the citizens for public comment on consent agenda items. Tina Smilek. Hello, Tina.
Hello, Tina Smilek, 33 Charles Street, Howell, New Jersey. Just want to say it's also Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. It might be nice at the end of the month if you could we have Be Like Jake, we have a couple of kids in the town that did pass from cancer. That being said, the only other thing I have, adding on those resolutions, I don't know if you had enough time to research them. It seems like a lot of information was added to this agenda, and it didn't leave a lot of time for residents to sit and review. So I might have a lot of questions on when it comes to those, only because I didn't get to research, because
Are you speaking about the fair housing?
the added resolutions, it's all different. At the end, it starts with 9A18, I believe.
Allison did
it's
mention
not-
the ones that have been withdrawn.
Yep, so,
There are a few others at the end.
Okay.
The easement and
Okay.
so, so, I'm to go with that. The municipal shared service that we're doing for 9 years, how often do we use that? Just wondering.
Which shared service are you referring to, Tina?
For 9 years, the other one's only 4 years, this one's 9 years for the same thing we do for Colts Neck. Now we're asking them to do it for us.
96.
This is the shared service we enter with Monmouth County that allows us to use services as needed. We are pretty self-sufficient, but should the need arise that we need their support, it's there for us.
How often have we used it in the past, was my question.
Use it for grinding last week.
Yeah, we tried using it for tub grinding a few weeks ago after the storm. However, the county's tub grinding machine failed, so we had to go with a private contractor for that.
We use
But
it for brine.
yeah, we purchase brine from Monmouth County regularly. every
Yeah, that's
winter.
on the 4-year contract, though. Why don't we do longer for the 4-year contract? There's 2 different shared
This is-
services on here.
This was what the county had requested.
Okay, and separate.
Vehicle washing.
Okay, and as we are with Colts Neck, now Colts Neck, we were allowed to borrow their equipment. Is this the same on here? Even though it's not stated, can we borrow equipment from them, and can they borrow equipment from us? Like we do with Colts Neck?
Could we? Yes.
Okay.
Do we normally? No.
I just wanted to see if it's the same. Okay, 9A16, the municipal audit, when was this completed?
What was the date of the completion of that audit? Lou?
So this audit was completed prior to the statutory deadline of June 30th. The auditors asked for, actually, the stated granted statewide. There was some GASB requirements that had to be on the comments that were on the notes to the financial statements, and the state had issued an extension to all auditing firms, a 90-day extension past the once the Division of Pension and Benefits had issued the GASB release. So so the audit did come in on time, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I believe you would do it. I have no problem.
Okay.
I don't think you wouldn't do it wrong. I just wanted to know, it's now September. Was it completed like recently, and that's why it's only being brought to the attention now?
Well, we recently got the final copy as far as the auditors included proper proper documentation in the notes to the financial statements in compliance with the GASB update that was required from the state.
Okay, has council reviewed the audit?
Yes, we got it several weeks ago.
Okay, the last page, it says the last page of the audit states that the current council, it's a responsibility of the current council, which is everybody up here now, but as of December 31st of 2018, which 3 of you weren't on council at that time. Does that make a difference? I just want to make sure in the audit. Should it be prior council, or does that affect?
Mr. Clark?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
On the last page, it asks who was on council during that year that the audit was prepared for, which was 2018, and it lists all the council people.
And it's the current council, you're saying, as opposed to who is sitting? We'll reach out to the auditors and see, and if we need to amend it,
Okay.
we will, okay?
Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we struck in 18, struck 19. Are we still doing 21? Capital budget?
Yes, this resolution is basically just amending the spending plan that's in the, that is in the budget to make it mirror what is being adopted in the bond ordinance.
Okay, a lot of the stuff on here you said you weren't approving, though.
Correct. And
So-
it has been amended.
Okay, to me, I just see nothing says in the future budget, nothing says, it just says, maybe I'm just not understanding how to read it.
There's a from, which is basically the first few pages is what the budget was existing, and then the
That was-
second half should be what it got revised to.
Was
So
the
it was a
11
from and a to.
11,290 was the original, and we're down to 9,781 bonding for this year
In total,
in total.
correct.
Okay, are we buying the message boards for outside, out front of this building?
Yes.
And people are supposed to read that going 50 miles down the street after a light on a bad turn. I just have an issue. What you decide to do is your decision. That, I just think you should rethink $40,000 for a sign out front. I just think it's dangerous there. On the other side, you have Southern, which at least people stop there. Here, nobody stops. You have people turning this way, you have people going straight, and it gets really messy in front of this building. So putting up another distraction, is that really feasible? Is there a safety issue? Just bring it up if you want to look into it.
Thank you.
9822, Farmingdale, we're just accepting the fees as payment, correct?
That's correct.
Are their fees similar to our fees?
Yes, they're actually in the process of increasing them.
So they won't be paying less than a Howell Township resident for the same services?
Once their fees are modified, no.
Okay. Township tax collector, how many jobs does he hold for how many municipalities?
I don't know.
More than just Howell and Farmingdale?
He's not doing Farmingdale.
He's not doing Farmingdale.
No.
So it's Howell, and is there more than just Howell, or?
I
mean,
believe he's still helping out his former employer while they transition. I don't know if he intends on retaining that or not.
Shouldn't that be something we know? I mean, Howell's a big town. We have a messed up department. We were gonna get pay $25,000 for somebody to come in and fix it, and there's been a lot of issues in it. I mean, I just
Excuse
wanna
me,
make
that's
sure-
4 minutes.
Thank you.
I just want to make sure that he's going to be spending his time focused on Howell. and
He's
we're
here
getting our
during
money.
all regular business hours, tending to Howell's needs.
Okay.
and doing a great job of it so far, I might add.
And did council interview any candidates for this, or just the manager?
Just the manager. It's a manager's appointment.
Okay. All right, I read something different, but I don't have that with me, so. 9A37, the Coast Trail, the Capital to Coast Trail, is that a matching grant, or is that,
Yes.
Yes.
it was 900,000, is it still 900,000? What are we looking at?
Nope, we applied for 500,000 total, which would be 250 and 250, which was presented this evening at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I couldn't make that, but thank you. Okay, so 250 and 250. I'd like to bring up the point, just to put it out there, we have a lot of building going on in that area. Maybe this could help us preserve some of that land over there, such as, our monstrosity of the Monmouth Commerce and all that, with all that extra truck. It might environmentally impact the area as it is, so just maybe something to think about. Maybe we can put something in there that would help us.
Just to be aware, the trail is being built on existing preserved land.
Yeah, but we're still going to have all that extra truck and traffic coming if that is approved in the planning board, and that's a lot of traffic, which you're going to put up another light, which is still going to go past Soldier Memorial and who knows what else. So just something to keep in mind.
Excuse me, that's 5 minutes.
Thank you, Allison.
All right, if you're going to keep it at 5 minutes, I do ask that, I can't ask all my questions, and this is the resolutions you added. I would have been fine if you didn't add these resolutions, and I don't think it's fair to stop residents from asking questions, especially when you don't give us time to even research the resolutions.
Well, my intent is not to stop anyone from asking a question. I simply wanted to ensure that at the 5-minute mark, that we would move on to another resident. So if we had 20 residents that wanted to speak, they would speak, and if you chose to come back up, you could.
Okay, so-
But my intent is to make sure that everyone has an opportunity to speak.
So how many people is it if I can come back up? If you have one more person on the list, what time frame are you looking to be in?
Deputy Mayor, there are some residents who come late and they don't sign in, so we
That-
really don't have an answer for that.
There is one person that's listed, and if should anyone else show a desire to speak, then I would entertain them first, obviously.
Yes, and then you'll open it up again. Okay.
Yes. Next, we have Barbara Dixell.
Barbara Dixell, 62A Piazza Vittoria, Freehold, New Jersey. Good evening, good evening, council.
Good evening.
9A13.
Yes?
Can you tell me what it is, what they're doing? And 9A14.
13 is,
By statute, we need to appoint certain persons into these with the former tax collector's retirement
Right.
effective September 1. She held these titles, so we're appointing somebody for the remainder of the year.
From within.
Yes,
Okay. And what will be after that? There'll be somebody new?
most likely they would continue with it, but this is generally appointed at the reorg meeting.
Okay, 9A14.
Same thing.
What's a tax search officer?
Official.
Residents can request basically a title search for taxes to be done on anyone's tax account, and there needs to be a municipal official who needs to certify to that. And by designating the tax collector, that is the designated official who can sign off on that official document that is issued by the township.
All right, I have something to say regarding the N.G. Ritchie Environmental Award Dinner, which I'm going to say right now. The teacher from the Board of Education is a paid employee who was doing her job, which is beneficial to Howell Township. An honorable mention from the Howell Township Environmental Commission can be given to her for a job well done. The Howell Township Environmental Commission and the Ritchie Fund were set up to reward the efforts of a citizen who has done something voluntarily for the betterment of the environment of Howell Township. I have always attended these dinners in the past. I will not attend this one out of protest, because the person being honored is a paid employee of the Board of Education of the Township of Howell.
Well, your position is well documented, Barbara.
Because the Angie Ritchie Fund, I mean, I've been going to these things for the last almost 15, 18 years. Every year, with pleasure, to honor and recognize the person being honored for whatever that person did for the betterment of the citizens of Howell Township. But I will not do this. And I might add that the Board of Education of the Township of Howell is autonomous. They are basically not part of the Township of Howell. So,
Mrs. Dixell, this is probably something that you needed to bring up with that committee.
I just want to make it public because this is the Howell Township Environmental Commission, and therefore it's a part of Howell Township, and I just want to voice my protest.
Ms.
I
Dixell, you
understand.
are aware that this recipient is a Howell resident as well,
Yes, she is.
correct?
Yes, she is, but she's a
Okay.
paid
I
employee.
know, but she's also a taxpayer, and she lives in Howell, right? Okay, just want to make sure that you were aware.
I agree with you.
Okay.
My objection is that the Ritchie Fund was set up by the Ritchie family many, many years ago
I'm well aware.
to honor a Howell Township resident.
Which she
who
is.
has voluntarily done something for the environment of the Township of Howell.
Did you look to see what she actually did?
Something with plastics and something with water in her 8th grade class. Yeah, I agree, I commend her, I'm not saying anything bad. This lady did a good job. My problem is that the recipient of the reward is a paid employee and should have been a resident of Howell, yes, she is, who did something voluntarily as per the dictate of the Ritchie family. When
Mrs.
the
Dixell, I
basic-
understand your position, and I think we all understand it. I don't know the specifics of this particular award with this particular person and when she did the work.
The
So,
fund was set up in
I
honor of
understand that.
Ann Ritchie.
I am well aware of that.
her husband and the family.
I've been to many of I spent a lot of years on the committee and have attended those award dinners as well. Not having all of the information, I don't feel that I can address this situation because I do not have all the specifics.
Voicing
So
my opposition
I,
to
you know,
picking a
Mr.
paid
Barron is
employee.
here. If you'd like to go on the side and speak to him, I'm sure maybe he could alleviate some of your issues.
Okay, thank you all
Thank
very
you.
much.
Is there anyone else that wished to speak? If so, please come up. Hello, Mr. Parisi.
Good evening, everyone. Mark Parisi, Two Castle Court. I want to thank you guys for amending those minutes. I know I walked in late, but thank you for doing that. Any update on the issue that I brought before the council on August 13th with the noise ordinance? I see.
Mr. Herman? And
There
Mr.
is no
Clark.
update at this time. I'll reach out to you separately. It's a difficult thing to get the county on board with this, but I'll speak with you privately about it. Do you have a specific complaint that you want us to deal with?
No, just that the
You're just
township at this point
interested in
doesn't
the
have any
privacy.
ability to enforce the ordinance, and I think that that's, you know.
Well, we're looking at a number of solutions, whether or not it's a shared service with the county, whether or not we enter into a shared service with another municipality for an NCL, whether or not we train one ourselves, whether or not we amend our ordinance. It's extraordinarily restrictive, as you know, and so it can be difficult to have the county enforce something that's sort of outside the scope, in their words, of the County Environmental Health Act. So there's a couple things that we've got to look at before we decide on any one plan of action.
Okay. All right, well, we could talk. All right, thank you. The other thing that I wanted to bring before the council is there was some reference made to the Monmouth Commerce Center. Obviously, it's pretty well known in town that this is a project that's before the planning board. I was wondering if the council has entertained the idea of maybe appointing a special counsel to represent the interests of the township before the planning board with this particular application, because the potential for impacts on not just the neighboring zones of that application, but more broadly within the township itself are substantial. I don't think I need to get into that. I think that's pretty well known in that I've read in other case law in other areas of the state that quite often on a project of this scale, the township itself will appoint a special counsel to represent the interests of the township. And if that hasn't been discussed, I would.
Special counsel as in,
Deputy Mayor, I would just say, because the application is pending, I don't think that it would be appropriate for council to discuss it at this time. And the fact of what the council may or may not have discussed with regards to special counsel for this would be protected by attorney-client privilege. So I can assure you that they're aware of the application, but we can't get into the details.
Right, and I'm not asking that. I was just having a public dialogue with the council about, I think that that's something the council should consider and discuss with the professionals. And that's all I'll add. Thank you.
thank you.
Hey, Joe, is that a committee or a board? Isn't that the mayor's, not the council? She has the right to form any committee of residents?
Yeah, I would look into that, yeah. So we can drill down on that and figure out what exactly an appropriate plan for that. Yeah, I think it is.
I will remind you all that I serve on the planning board as a council class 3. So I think that while this application is before us, due process will play out, and I'm sure, Mr. Parisi, you're well aware of how that process works, so, but thank you. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak?
Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton. I just wanted to mention about the tax collector that was hired. I actually had a chance to meet him, and he did say to me that he is working in Neptune City as well as Belmar, but yet he's working as a tax collector in these other titles in full-time in Howell. So I don't know how somebody can work full-time, and then I think he said he was going to do the others evenings and weekends. So I don't know if everyone on the council is aware of that or not. So that I just wanted to let you know. I don't think the manager was, you said you didn't know, so thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Geegan, didn't you say that he works for us 40 hours a week?
35 hours.
35 hours a week, and he's here during our business hours?
Correct. Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30.
Okay, just wanted to be
minus a
clear.
lunch break.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else in the public wish to address? No one? Seeing none, I'll close public portion. Okay, could I get a motion on the consent items, the 9A items?
I'll make a motion to move 9A1 through 9A40.
I will second that motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. May I get a motion? I'm sorry, 9B1 still is a mayoral appointment to the Shade Tree Commission. Again, I'd like to wait until Mayor Berger is available to make that herself. So if we could move on to 9B2, could I get a motion of a name to fill that position of Municipal Alliance? I believe it's Christine. somebody.
Yep, I have it right here. Christina? I'd like to make a motion to appoint Christina, I'm going to butcher this, because I have anybody? A little help there, Allison? Karetsis? How was that? Not bad? Okay. To appoint her to the Howell Alliance.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Public hearing on ordinances. 2019 salary ordinance, Assistant Finance Officer. This is the ordinance that amends the 2019 salary ordinance, setting forth the salary range for Assistant Finance Officer. This is 01939. Ordinance number 01939, introduced and passed on first reading on August 13th, 2019, and published according to law, now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance is in the Asbury Park Press issue of August 16th, 2019, is submitted and is noted that a copy of the ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were made available to the general public upon request. Allison?
Title of ordinance, an ordinance setting forth and amending and supplementing the salary range schedule for the salaries of certain officers and employees of the Township of Howell.
May I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like to open up to the public for this particular ordinance. Anyone for the public wishing to address this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll close that portion. Now I'd like to entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion that ordinance number 0-19-39 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 9/13/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Thank you.
Roll call, Mr. Panovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Next, ordinance 01940. This ordinance provides for the various capital items authorized in the 2019 budget. Ordinance number 01940, introduced and passed on first reading on August 13th, 2019, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance is in the Asbury Park Press issue of August 16th, 2019, is submitted, and it is noted that a copy of this ordinance has been posted on the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements and the acquisition of various capital equipment, appropriating $4,696,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,395,000 bonds and notes to finance a portion of the cost thereof, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
I'd like to open this up to the public for this particular ordinance. Anyone wishing to speak to this ordinance, please come forward. Hello.
Kathy Novak, 16 Stratton Drive. I'm not sure if I'm asking the right question, but is this the one that had the $66,000 from the Open Space Trust Fund?
Yes.
And so can you tell me why and how that, how that works? Tell me what the $66,000,
You want me to take that? Sure. There was some equipment that was requested by DPW, and it's for the maintenance of various open space areas. There's 2 mowers that they had requested, and we opted to procure those through our open space funding.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone else wishing to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, I'll close public portion.
Motion that ordinance number 0-19-40 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 9/13/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you.
Roll
Allison?
call, Mr. Panovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Zero 1941. This ordinance provides for the sewer capital items authorized in the 2019 budget. Ordinance of ordinance number 01941, introduced and passed first reading on August 13th, 2019, and published according to law, is now being taken up for further consideration and public hearing. Affidavit of publication of this ordinance is in the Asbury Park Press, issue of August 16th, 2019, submitted, and is noted that a copy of this ordinance has been posted in the bulletin board in the municipal building, and that copies were made available to the general public upon request.
Title of ordinance, capital ordinance providing for the rehabilitation of the Ardena Pump Station and appropriating $350,000 therefore, authorized in and by the Township of Howell in the County of Monmouth, New Jersey.
Thank you. I'd like to open this to the public. Anyone wishing to speak to this ordinance, please come forward. Seeing no one? Can I get a motion for this adoption?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that ordinance number 0-19-41 be finally passed and adopted, and that notice of its passage and adoption be published in the 9/13/19 issue of the Asbury Park Press by reference to its title only.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Bear with me. Okay. I would like to remind everyone that, again, tomorrow, September 11th, we do have our Remembrance Program at 6 p.m. at the Preventorium, the old municipal building. All the public is welcome to attend and to share in the evening. Our regular meeting for Tuesday, September 24th, 2019, will begin at 7:30. Executive session will begin at 6:30. Another regular meeting, Tuesday, October 22nd, begins again at 7:30. Executive session, 6:30. Is there anything that council would like to bring to the attention of anyone?
Not at this time.
Seeing nothing, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I will make a motion to adjourn.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Bonovich?
Yes.
Ms. Richmond?
Yes.
Mr. Russo?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor O'Donnell?
Yes. Thank you very much. Have a good evening. Drive home safe.